Yo,
Hey.
I'm so excited. That. I chose that music and I was expecting it to go somewhere, but it sucked. It's not good, StreamYard. That's very depressing.
It's the times.
Oh yeah, I forgot. So this is our first 2025 stream together. We talked in Dallas or something. Where were we last year?
Yep, Dallas. Yeah, so actually not too long ago. Yeah, back in September.
Well, yeah, but that was a different Java release. We've changed as men. We're like different people now.
It's completely different. All new things.
Totally new. No, I'm really excited to see you again, my friend. Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you too.
I hope you're doing okay.
You know, hanging in there best as I can.
Yeah, I am. Hold on, I gotta get my chair. There we go. Yep. Extend the chair. Extend the chair. People don't appreciate just how important it is to have a comfortable chair.
Yeah. Recently, took my wife's chair, which was a lot better because like the previous chair I had was just like a really basic Amazon or literal Amazon Basics chair. I'm just like, I'll just get that one. But then what's the name? It's like Hellman Coleman or whatever. It's something like that. I got it. That's the kind of chair. It's been much better. Great lumbar support.
Well, that's important. What is the lumbar support? Is this your studio or do you have like a separate space where you do work?
No, this is my office area. So yeah, like we have like a big loft area. It used to be like a warehouse, and so like this is kind of like previous owners like kind of split leveled it, so kind of works a bit for an office area.
What is your heating bill like in the Kansas cold?
Yeah, it can get kind of expensive. I think it's 150 to 200 or something. Yeah, I can that's also a bit why I'm wearing this hoodie, out on that a little bit. It's exceptionally cold. It was negative 8 Fahrenheit this morning. So that's unusually cold for Kansas City.
Well, it's let me see. It's look, okay. I mean, I don't want to hear about your complaints. It's gonna get down to 56 here, and
oh yeah, that's rough.
God, I don't know. So people in the audience, they probably know you. I certainly do. I've known you since before you were big and famous and stuff. You're my buddy Billy.
Yeah.
I was just complaining to you off screen how mad I am that you get to hang out with cool people like Rob Winch IRL. And meanwhile, I'm stuck here in this frozen wasteland that is San Francisco.
Yeah. I mean, someone has to hang out with Rob, just someone has to fall on that grenade.
Such a good guy. Yeah. So now you're over at the big old Oracle Ranch.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't know. I was look. Java 24 is coming. There's also this conference I heard. When's that happening? Do you know? What's that? Java 2, Java 3?
So pretty appropriately, they're both kind of coming exactly the same time. So Java 24 is arriving on March 18th, and that's also when Java 1 is also starting on March. That's going from March 18th to 20th, which is down in Redwood Shores, California. That's part of the whole Silicon Valley area, just a bit to the south of San Francisco, north of Santa Clara.
That's where I live. I mean, I live in
Yeah.
San Francisco, but that's 10, 15 minutes away from here. So will I see you there?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I just saw that you will also be there.
Yep. Can't get rid of me.
especially since like convenient, just you hop on the BART, go down a few stops, and then come and present. Yeah, I have a little bit farther commute there coming over from Kansas City, but not too bad.
I mean, you're gonna be good. Yeah, Kansas 24 already. Look.
Yeah.
You see the comment? That's awesome.
Yeah, 24 already. Yeah,
it is.
So the Java release train has no brakes. It's not stopping.
No. Runaway.
Got 25.
Runaway Train with Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
What was that movie?
Fugitive.
No, but what was the Runaway Train? Oh, it's the other old guy, John Voight. Yeah.
Oh, Mission Impossible? No,
there's a movie called Runaway Train. Yeah. It's a 1985 movie.
Oh, actually, I really like the Leslie Nielsen, like Falsely Accused or something, where he parodied The Fugitive. But there's a scene where like he's running from the train, but it keeps following him wherever he goes, and then it's like hiding behind a tree. And he keeps just, what a treasure he was! So many great parody movies.
Leslie Nielsen, yeah, he's great. I mean, Airplane, come on, one of the best movies, ever. There's look, some of those jokes you couldn't do today, but
quite a few.
A lot of them you could, and like the nice thing about that movie is there was a joke like every 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So if you didn't like it, just wait. There's another one coming right behind it. Like it was just. I mean, I think about it all the time. Like yesterday, I was like, I picked a heck of a day to stop sniffing glue.
Oh man, it's an excellent movie. Actually, I need to watch it again here pretty soon. It's been a minute.
I should watch it again too. Actually, that's a great movie. Yeah, for real. There's a bunch from Leslie Nielsen. Yeah, Leslie Nielsen. Yeah. Anyway, Java 24. Look, that's huge. I'll tell you. Look, you're gonna tell me about all the good stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna put my hat here. In the ring. There's one thing that I'm really excited about. There's this weird bug that only impacts it's the intersection of 4 different technologies. Mm-hmm. It's build packs, Apple Silicon M4, Java, and Linux. Like if you're running a Linux Docker image on ARM on Apple Silicon using Java 21, 2, or 3, then you get this weird bug, which is fixed. It works fine in Java 24.
So yeah, you briefly told me about this before the show started. So what is the bug that you're experiencing? I'm just kind of interested. I haven't heard about it until just
Yeah, I even talked about it. Like, wait, let me see if I can find the thing. Because I found it last December, a month and a half ago, and it was such a stupid bug, and I found it. Okay, this one, I found it. Amazing. Can you believe it? Let me see. It was a seg fault when using Java 21, 22, or 23 in a Docker image on an Apple Silicon M4 Mac OS with ARM64. The workaround is basically you set a variable. Let me see.
Okay.
Let me link to the. It's you do Java dash XX colon use capital SVE equals 0, right? And if you set an environment variable, that'll also you can set like what is it Java ops or whatever your tooling
Mhm.
is. Set that environment variable so that it gets passed into the Java CLI and it'll work. But it just goes away completely. You get it afflicts ARM Arch 64 AArch 64
Mhm.
VM crashes with sigkill when PRCTL is disallowed. Right.
Wow.
Super. Like again,
It's
just
a yeah. Those can get through when you get that many variables.
yeah.
We have extremely robust test suites, but yeah,
Oh, I
sometimes
know. Oh, no,
sometimes
no.
it
It's
can.
this is a. I don't think I'm not even sure who's. I don't think any one group. I think it's like the confluence of all these different things. Um, and there is already a workaround. I found it on the Corretto
Well,
/Corretto -23 GitHub, but I've seen it. There's other people that have discovered the workaround.
mhm.
I was so confused by it, and so were some of the other people on the build packs team. I was so confused. I reformatted my Mac.
Wow.
I was like,
Wow.
because it was just like, why would it work here but not there? It's the same
Yeah.
freaking thing. Like it just made no sense. I had to reformat and reinstall a whole computer, my whole life, just to make sure it wasn't just me. I started from a brand new
Yeah.
machine.
In some ways, though, I mean, I remember very early in my career, I was working on some sort of issue. I can't remember what, but I thought I found an issue in HashMap, and and then this one guy who mentored me a lot earlier in my career. It's just like, no, you didn't find a bug in HashMap. Like it's a you problem,
Right.
not this. Though in this case, you did find an actual problem in the JDK, but not quite something as heavily used as a HashMap. That
Wow.
said, yeah, maybe
Well, it
we
wasn't
can.
me. I wasn't the first one to find it either. I was just got bit
Oh,
by it. Um, but yeah, that's the right. You're right, 100%. It's
yeah,
almost never the JDK, right? That's how
yeah,
rare it is. I thought it was me. I thought it was
yeah.
Mac. I thought Mac OS had done something first
Hmm.
before I bothered looking for. Yeah, it was that I reformatted. That's like I said. I thought there was
Wow.
some because I had just updated to the Apple Intelligence
Hmm.
stuff right before I discovered this bug. So I thought, well, maybe it's related to that.
That
Maybe
must
I'll
have
go
been it.
back.
Yeah.
But no, it was just oh man, what a bug. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's going to be fixed in Java 24. So already I have a very exciting, very vested, good reason to upgrade. What
Yeah.
else can you tell me? What else should I be looking forward to?
Well, 24 is really it's by a number of JEPs. It's I think by good measure like the biggest release we have since we've gone to the 6 month release cadence. There's going to be I don't think this was planned, but you never know. But there's going to be 24 JEPs in JDK 24. So I don't know. We're gonna aim for 25 JEPs in JDK 25. We'll see. But yeah, no, there's a lot. So I mean, some of them are obviously not all huge jumps because there's only so much and you could possibly accomplish in 6 months. But there are a few really important ones that I think are worth kind of highlighting.
Yeah,
So actually, someone we both know, Raphael
Winterhalter.
Winterholt. Yes. So he runs Byte Buddy.
Yeah,
And so for people who are listening, that's actually something I think Spring uses a lot as well. But like Byte Buddy is a way of generating Java class files on the fly to do like a lot of like connective behavior. Like, if you I think we were talking earlier, something like if you use like Spring Data and you want to generate like repositories or something like with those annotations that they create like classes based upon that.
yeah. We're
So
not using
that's
Byte Buddy though. We're using CGLib. But yeah,
CG
same
Loop.
idea.
Okay, yeah, but like Bite Buddy kind of like also functions a bit in that same area.
Yep.
But one annoying thing is, especially that's much more noticeable now with the 6 month release cadence, is every time we have a release, then the version generation is no longer the same. And so like you would get like that, class versions not compatible or whatever. And then, you would have to update to a more recent version of like Byte Buddy or CGLib or whatever it might be. And this would
Yeah.
be really annoying, especially if, and I don't think it's super often, like if there's not a big change that has happened to the class file structure. So like it's just one of those things that you just kind of had to do. So the long and short of it when it comes to the class file API is now instead of just doing the like, okay, are these the correct different versions? Now the class file API can actually read into the structure of the class file itself and say like, okay, no, actually how I'm using this class file, I already know how to read it. I don't actually need to have it updated. So, once a lot of like the audience listening kind of gets to 25, subsequent updates should actually go a lot more smoothly. You're not going to necessarily have to update all of your underlying libraries whenever you do an update if there's no necessary change for them. So that should be very, very nice.
Well, so will the Byte Buddies and CGLibs and ASMs of the world depend upon this core mechanism?
Yes. So, what I mentioned Raphael once, Winterhalter, sorry if I keep kind of goofing on his name, is he just sent out a post on
Ooh.
Blue Sky here. Actually, yeah, just about a week ago, January 17th, on his profile, where he talked about how ByteBuddy 1.16 has now integrated this new class file API, and then he kind of goes on to say that because the class file API it's been in previous releases as a preview feature, but now in JDK 24 it's going to become a final feature, so you won't have to have like enable preview on or something to kind of use it. So yeah, it's going to be very nice. Very nice for a whole lot of frameworks out there. Springwork, nonetheless, not that I guess you're not using ByteBuddy, but CGLib, I'm sure it's eventually going to integrate with this as well. Again, it's going to make upgrading between releases that much easier.
Nice. That's
Yeah.
so cool. Like that kind of stuff is, it's so useful. And also, frankly, I mean, for the simple stuff, maybe we don't even need to use some of these external libraries, right? Because we can read and write directly from the JDK itself,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know when most people should be in the business of writing their own class files, but still, very, very cool that it's even possible, To be able to read it, though, I think that's pretty useful. I think a lot of people will, there's uses for that as well, right?
Yeah, it's going to be much more of a thing of when it comes to reading class files and probably creating them. I would assume how this would be benefited. But yeah, as I said, it's going to be very nice once people get to 25, which I realize it's going to probably be a little bit for most people. But that's been one of the big things that that's been holding back people from upgrading to later releases, is that like maybe certain libraries that they depend upon maybe don't have a whole lot of support. Maybe, maybe not unlike ByteBuddy where it's just primarily one person supporting it. In which case they
really
might,
brilliant person.
well, yeah, one very extremely brilliant person in Raphael. But yeah, some of them might just be one or two people maintaining it, and they may not always be able to update between releases or for whatever reason. And now if you don't need an update for it, then it'd be kind of nice just not having to push out a new release for every 6 months for that. So
Yeah.
And because
super good.
And then that's also just a bit of a lot of organizations. Most organizations don't have extremely large and mature automated test suite. So like that can create a fear of like, okay, like we know it works with like ByteBuddy 1.16, but we don't know if it's going to work with 1.17. So if you can just stay on 1.16 and there's no reason to upgrade, like then that just kind of, for many organizations, like, okay, that's just one less thing that could possibly go wrong in this release if we can just, stay on this library version. So yeah.
It's awesome. So good. That's so good. I'm like this kind of stuff. I just love that. One of the things this is secondary, like, okay, I want a useful feature. The Java team's like, okay, we'll give you the useful feature, which is already enough. That's what the JDK doesn't have to be it's nice that it is. The Java JDK in particular, the Java virtual machine, the Java standard library is from, it's 30 years old this year, right?
Yeah.
But it's still, I would say that a lot of it is something you can look up to. It's very good code. Whereas in other standard libraries, since they're more open source and they're sort of more of a hodgepodge. I'm looking at Python, for example. I love Python, but nonetheless, some of the types in the JDK there in the Python standard library are using camel case. Some are using snake case. Some are using like types that look like they're object oriented. Some are just function. I mean, it's just very sort of inconsistent. Whereas the Java SDK has always been sort of a very clean, opinionated, well structured, well coded piece of software. And I was very pleased when I saw Brian Getz talk about the design of the new class file API. And the functional and data oriented sort of style in which it's being built. There's a whole talk he did for, what was that, the Java Summit, Java JLS Summit, like 6 months ago or a year ago. Really good. I mean, just nice.
Yeah, really I think also I really liked
their own libraries.
Yeah, a really, really interesting presentation from Brian Getz recently as well was from at Devox. Where he was talking about one project that all Java developers or a lot of Java developers are really looking forward to is Project Valhalla, and it's been coming for such a long time. And I'm not going to promise on when we're going to start seeing it, but we're getting closer. But the JDK engineers on it are getting a lot more confident. But anyways, Brian at Devox Belgium gave a presentation called, I think it was like Postcards from the Peak of Complexity, where he talked about how they had gone through several working implementations on how to implement a lot of the key features of Project Valhalla, like value classes and primitive classes and all these things. And it's like one of those things, it's like, okay, so like they kind of had like a working prototype or something at one point, but like, as they kind of really worked with it, so they realized like, okay, there's just like a lot of pain in here. And so like they went back and kind of worked on it again. And, and they've gone through like a 2 or 3 or 4 times or something like that. And I think they kind of finally settled on something that's, very, very nice and that should be, relatively easy to use. And, like I said, they're still working on it. So I don't want to, but it is something that I think we've all kind of had that, where we were all worked on a system at one time at work where it's just like, finally got this implemented and it's working. And then it's like, oh man, like I didn't really expect this and whatever. And like I wish if I only knew what I knew now, like I would have done this completely differently. So it's a bit different when you're just kind of at an enterprise and you're kind of having to support your own system. But for us at the JDK, the cost of us maybe not getting like a good new system or something set up right that's easy to use. I mean, it's definitely borne on us and support, but it's also going to be heavily borne on the Java users or the Java developers who maybe are like, oh my God, like this is so difficult and clunky to, create a primitive class that, doesn't need identity. It's like there's just all this mechanism that I have to work, the complaint of Java being too verbose or something kind of like that could surface again. So, it's a thing where it's just like, sometimes it's better to wait a little bit longer because,
of course,
I
mean, same thing for Spring, right?
Mm-hmm.
I saw that talk. The Valhalla stuff. Oh, I cannot tell you how much I'm waiting for that. I didn't realize how much I wanted that. But then the AI thing happened a couple of years ago. I was like, oh yeah, we need to have value types. That has to happen now.
It is. It will be very important for Java's future when it comes to AI. I mean, like right now, of course, we have like LangChain for J, I believe, like as an API for interacting with it. But
we have Spring AI.
And Spring AI. And there's a bunch of things for APIs for interacting with it, but there's not so much for, you're not going to be as often using Java for actually writing AI models or something. And that's where things like Project Valhalla will help, Project Babylon, and a few other things that, will make Java a much more practical choice for writing that. And it's one of those things. It's like, oh, it's probably too late, like all the AI models or whatever. But like, a lot of this stuff has long time horizons. And so while it may seem getting late now, like I'm sure the AI revolution is going to keep going on and going on. We're seeing like a lot with the large language models, but there could be some, next thing. I mean, AI research is far beyond my understanding, so I can't say, but there's chances are it seems like this is getting pretty mature and there's certain limitations, so this is probably going to be something new, just kind of like the postcards of complexity, whereas like this third and fourth and fifth model and way of doing AI is going to kind of, some other generation is going to come out that's going to be like, oh, this is solving a lot of the issues we see with the current generation.
Right. No, 100%. Well, first of all, you can get a pretty trivial, I mean, there's even a one-liner language model implementation in Java right now that you can use and it's out there. It's just a single .java source code file. It's not fundamentally, the algorithms for these models are not, once you know them, once we figure them out, which that took years, it's not hard to move from one language to another. But and of course, what would be really good at translating the code for a model from one language to another? AI.
Yeah.
But so right now, I mean, we have this uncanny situation where there are Python models, and if that's suitable, then why couldn't Java be suitable? And the answer is that Python's cheating. They're using native libraries, right? They're using something called SciPy and NumPy. These have native optimizations for managing large amounts of data, and that's sort of we've got that in the Vector API. Right? A lot of what they're doing there we have in the Vector API in Java, but that in turn is being held up, as I understand it, for Valhalla. And
that's correct. Yeah.
I know some people that are doing really, really large data processing pipelines, things like that. And the way they've built it in their, in C, is they keep everything within cache, CPU cache. They go to great pains to keep all data small enough that it can fit in a CPU cache. So it's never it never misses,
Yeah.
And these kind of programs go super fast. Imagine if Java could do that, and I know it will, sooner rather than later, hopefully. But
it'd be really interesting. Gunnar Morling, was it about a year or so ago? He had the 1 billion row challenge, and it's kind of amazing. Like the first few implementations, like they ran through like the 1 billion lines of like weather station data, I think like throughout Germany or Europe or something. It's just like who could just process through this the fastest. And like the first implementation, maybe took like 10 seconds or something like that. But like eventually people got it down to where it was like finishing in like, I think like under a second or even like under 100th of a second, or like just something absolutely absurd, because they're doing like all these tricks to where like, everything would always stay in a CPU cache and like all this stuff that, again, kind of beyond my understanding or capability.
Yeah, I mean, there was the concurrent ones, which are super fast, but the one that was interesting to me was the non-concurrent ones. That was 1.5 something seconds.
Yeah.
1.5 seconds. Yeah, and which is 13 gigabytes of data.
Yeah.
Like, imagine the naive. You can't just write the naive code. You can't do like input stream.read and just read the whole thing, right? Like that won't work. You've got to be a little crafty. But still, the fact that Java can do that is just. And in that ranking, there's like the first three are GraalVM and Java, but the fourth one is just regular OpenJDK.
Yeah,
and there's one that's by a fellow in Asia, I think Vietnam, that uses the Vector API.
Oh, interesting.
And it's like number 8 in the ranking, and it's using just fairly straightforward vectors, and the vector stuff makes a huge difference. I mean, really big difference. You can write relatively straightforward code using the Vector API, and you get some of the performance that kind of is on par with some of the other ones that are really more gnarly and taking advantage of GraalVM. The top ranking one came in from our old friend Thomas Wertinger, but Thomas has since basically admitted that had GraalVM at the time supported the Vector API, then the implementation submitted by that fellow that uses the vector API would have actually been faster than his implementation.
Oh, wow,
Right.
that's interesting.
So the vectors plus GraalVM equals faster than the fastest entry right now. And that,
Wow.
that vector API makes all the difference in the world, right? And that'll be a huge differentiator whether using GraalVM or not. I can't wait. I cannot wait. It's so good. The vector API plus Valhalla. Yeah.
That's it's going to be impressive. Some of that is like, some of it's just like I haven't done too much with the vector API. So like my background before becoming a developer advocate was just primarily supporting and building web applications. So using a lot of Spring Boot. Like Spring Boot was, when that came out, really changed my life because it made it to where I was not living my life in application context XMLs way back in those days. So, but it's just like, so sometimes people ask me about the vector API. I'm like, it's about computer vectors. I don't.
It's really good. I'm a fan, and Valhalla too. That one's actually, in terms of like most people's day-to-day experience of getting faster code, value types, just that value keyword would be super good. But anyway, okay. Anyway, sorry, didn't mean to. Christmas was last month. I'm not sure why I'm drooling right now. So okay, so Java 24. Let's go. So we got the class file API. You mentioned there's 24 JEPs.
So a few other ones, like one other like to mention. So like startup, you kind of mentioned GraalVM, like so like startup has become very important in the world. Actually, funny enough, I just released was it earlier this month, a video on like kind of deep dive into JVM startup. And actually that video did surprisingly a lot better than I was expecting. I thought I was going to release it and like 10 people were going to watch it, and I spent all this time on it because like who would really care about like a deep dive into JVM startup? But I actually been very happy with the response to it.
You did good stuff, my friend.
Yeah, thank you. But anyways, on that topic though, there's Project Leiden. And so Project Leiden has like 3 goals: improve like overall startup performance, improve peak time, or improve or reduce time to peak performance, and then reduce the footprint of it. And the first of they have like 3 JEPs now. And the first of those JEPs, ahead of time class loading and linking, is going to be integrated into JDK 24. And so what it allows you to do is you can do like a training run with your application. In this case, probably just mostly just needs to be get the application started up, and then you can then save all this information about like all the classes you loaded and all the class uses you linked, all this kind of stuff that JVM does in startup, and save it into this cache. And then the next time you start the application, instead of that JVM doing all that work again, it'll just read from this cache, and you should get a very nice boost in your startup performance. So this first step, again, it's very much focused on just startup performance, but then future ones will be focusing on time to peak performance. So like once you start up your application and maybe you're doing some sort of processing, you can see like how many like transactions, like let's just say that like probably actually with like the billion row challenge, like how many rows which are actually processing, at the very start of the application, it may have been doing 100 million rows every second, or every quarter of a second, but by the end of it was maybe doing 200 million or 300 million rows within that same period of time, because the JVM has this incredible piece of technology called the JIT, the just-in-time compiler, which can see what your application is doing and be like, okay, you're constantly calling like this if statement, like it's always positive, like it's always a true, because like you set some configuration in it. So instead of actually always evaluating it, we're just going to assume it's true, and it's always going to go through a little bit faster. Or I may compile like some code that's being written, this is being interpreted as bytecode into like actual native code, and do more optimizations to it. And so what Lay can also do is like you can do another training run with the application, or both these at the same time, and say like, okay, this is what my application typically looks like in production. Okay, save all this information, and now instead of having to wait, 30 minutes or whatever for your Java application to be fully optimized, now you can just kind of get it almost all right after startup.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah,
That's huge because especially now, in the cloud world, like
Mhm.
time to first byte, time to the ability to handle responses, it depends largely on how fast you quickly and quickly you can start up, right? Like,
Yeah.
huge deal. And
Yeah.
I noticed that those are you've got some of that with the app CDS right now, but it's going to get even better.
Yep.
You've got the new dash AOT
Mhm.
CLI
Yep.
flags, whatever that's.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, a lot of Project Widen, it's kind of being built on top of CDS. Though like that kind of terminology is going away to be entirely replaced by the AOT of just ahead of time terminology. But yeah, no, it's going to be very nice, very exciting, kind of addressing one of the big things that is often criticized at Java compared to some other languages that it's, comparatively slower startup. But yeah, it's very nice. Looking forward to it, and I'm sure someone will be talking about it at Java 1.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Wait, so Java 1, oh, so I can't wait. Actually,
Yep.
I feel bad for you. You're going to be doing Java 1 and Java 24 stuff at the same time.
Yep,
Hmm.
that is true. So we will actually, if you I would definitely recommend getting to Java 1, just because that's going to be an opportunity to meet myself, meet you in person, but also meet some other incredible Java luminaries, like some of the JDK engineers like Mark Reinhold, Brian Getz, Dr. Deprecator, and Stuart Marks. I have not seen them both in the same room at the same time. So, but yeah, all those people will actually be there. So this be a really unique opportunity to actually get to see some of these luminaries in the Java world. But if you can't make it for some reason, we are going to be doing some live streaming of it. We're going to be doing like a live stream for the JDK 24, and we're going to kind of incorporate like the bit of like of Java 1 in there as well. So you'll kind of also get to experience what it's like to be there to some extent as well. So
Oh,
definitely
so good.
follow our YouTube channel. You can see it there about that.
So tell me about that. So as we wind down here,
Mhm.
you mentioned the YouTube channel. What is that?
Yeah, so just youtube.com/Java. That is a channel that the team I'm on at Oracle, the Java DevRel team, that's part of the Java platform group, rerun and post stuff to that. Also for like the JDK 24 release, I'll be publishing several videos about that. So like 4 or 5 releases ago now, I started publishing a bit tongue-in-cheek video called like JDK the release version in 2 minutes more or less, and usually I go well over 2 minutes, and I suspect that's going to be once again the case with this JDK 24 release, where I just summarize just the depths of it. But then also some videos I published then is I go through the entirety of the release notes of the JDK release, which it's a bit dry reading, and so I don't know many people who really would often want to read through all of that, but now I put a video out and you can just listen to that video while you're doing laundry or washing dishes or something, and then you could be like, wait, okay, hold on, that's right, we do use this date updates to something. Okay, that's something to keep in mind for when we update our, there could just be certain, things that you don't necessarily want to read through, but you can maybe listen to it and be like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, that's important to remember when we're updating to JDK 24 or eventually JDK
Cool.
25. But yeah,
So cool.
also all the other members of my team, Nikolai, he every other week publishes like the Inside Job and newscast where he goes over just the various news and events in the JDK world. Also, myself and Anna Maria also help out with that. Jose Palmar, he also publishes videos where he does his JEP Cafe,
Yep.
where he kind of gets in depth onto various JEPs and Java features, and he also does a bunch of sorts. Like he is just an absolute machine on doing those sorts. I thought I was like so good a while back doing my sip of Java like one every week, but then he publishes like 3 or 4 a week. I'm just like, oh, how do you do this?
Well, he's a professor. They have magical
He
powers that
is.
the rest of us
They
don't have.
do. Just
Um,
mysterious powers.
but I love all your content. I love your content. I watch
Thank
it
you.
and learn from it all the time. I appreciate you.
Yep.
I can't wait to see you at Java 1. I know you're going to be, like you won't have time to sleep. But if you do
Probably
have,
not. Yeah, our day is gonna be very, very packed for that
right.
entire week.
But if you do have time, come on over. I'll make you a coffee.
Absolutely.
Java 1,
Uh-huh.
this is going to be, I assume this is the right link,
Yes,
oracle.com/Java 1 forward
that's the
slash
one.
JAVA
Yep.
1, ONE.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's going to be again
Yeah.
March 18th to 20th,
Yep.
2025. In basically just book a flight for San Francisco and you can get a taxi from there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll also say that if you want to go,
I
definitely
do.
get a ticket as soon as possible. They are, if you're public sector, it is $4.99. If you don't attend the attendee party, though, I would highly recommend attending.
Yeah.
And then if you're anyone else, it's $5.99. But that price is going to be going up on September, or not September. February 8th, I believe, is the day, or February 8th or 9th, the price is going to go up by $100. So if you're interested in coming, talk to your boss pretty soon, or if you're your own boss, then talk to yourself to get that ticket, just because you're going to save just $100 on it, which hard to say no to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super good.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, my friend. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. It was great to see you again. Great to talk to you. And I hope to see you here in person at Java 1 in about 2 months.
I look forward to it.
All right, man. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.